It's time to talk about a very weird vinyl accessory. This is not a shot. This is actually a syringe filled with silicone damping fluid. What on earth is this? So have you ever had a turntable that when you lower the stylus or the tone arm, it just drops like a rock? Well, oftentimes that can be caused by damping fluid drying out or leaking out of the main piston that controls that damping action, which is the soft descend, the gentle descend of that tone arm. So if you look online, and I'll put a link in the description down below, you can buy a ready-made syringe like this that will allow you with precision to add some of this silicone damping fluid back in. Now, as you know, I love my LP3 and it continues to be my daily driver. Yes, even though I've got the RT85, I had it for a while in here and I'm like, I just miss my LP3 too much. So I've got the LP3 back in here as of the last couple of weeks. And although you can't see it very well, right over there, you'll see a weird looking cabinet that hasn't been in here before. I also got a new stereo cabinet, which I had never had before. I used my desk to kind of stack some of my separates. And I was like, you know what? I would love to have a stereo system like in a rack. So that's what we have in place now. And I'm very blessed to have that. So that was a really cool thing. And I got another little cabinet as well. Don't have a whole lot of room here in my office, so had to be very careful. But it actually helped me optimize a lot of the space off camera here because, I work here as well all day long and I need a lot more space in order to kind of perform those actual job duties. So back to this. With my LP3, the one issue that I've had is that the damping is really bad. I've seen a lot worse where they literally just, bam, the tone arms just drop down. Mine still has some descend, but it's not nearly enough. And if you use it on automatic mode, as I'll show you here in a minute, it's okay because it's mechanically damped at that point. But the hydraulic damping is definitely subpar. So we are going to learn together, because I've never done this, exactly how this works. I've got a good basic understanding. I've watched videos, I've read articles, so we're going to learn about it together. Also, I'm going to see if I can dig up another record player that needs this as well. I keep thinking in the back of my head, I've got at least another portable somewhere that needs this. So I'm going to figure out which one that is, and we will try it out on that as well. So, enough babbling, let's get into it. It's definitely no secret that I love my LP3. This is my favorite record player, and no, it is not the most expensive one, but it's virtually perfect in every way. It's kind of like the Mary Poppins of record players to me. I love this thing. It does need some damping fluid though, because as I'll demonstrate here in a moment, that tone arm's dropping like a rock. So that's a pretty common thing. And a lot of people probably just move on with their lives and don't deal with it, but I am not one of those people. I'm going to deal with it. And I thought it'd be fun to kind of learn how this works together. Again, no expert here, just an enthusiast, so we'll get through it together. So let me show you kind of what it does now. So if you're playing a record on automatic mode like I am now, you'll notice when the tone arm drop, it's kind of quick, but it's not terrible. You know what I mean? It was like, yeah, that was kind of a sudden drop there. Let's look at that a little bit more close up one more time. I want you guys to be able to see exactly what I'm talking about. So yeah, the only extra feature I think this turntable needs that it doesn't have right off the bat, in my opinion, is some sort of speed control, some speed check, a strobe or something, and then it would be absolutely perfect. As you can see there, it was still pretty quick, or it was pretty quick. It was the same thing, just sort of repeated. But yeah, I just love this thing. It's such a great turntable. And I love the white on white. Initially, I wasn't a fan of the white. I had the black one, but I think it was a preamp went bad on that. So this was an RMA, and I am thankful to have it. And again, it's not the most expensive turntable by any means. It's, kind of mid-range, but works for me. So here's the problem we have. So if I'm on manual queuing mode, where I'm not using any of the automatic functionality, I'm just using, the manual functionality where I'm just, queuing it up manually. And if I flip this, if I go slowly, I can control the speed of the descent. And that's kind of what I've been doing. But unlike a lot of people just want to go bam, and then that thing just kind of goes down fast, right? Like that's pretty quick. So let's zoom in a little bit so you can see better. I'm going to flip that switch, and that thing skirts down really quick, a little bit too quick for my preference. So what we're going to do is take our syringe. There's a phrase I haven't yet uttered on this show. I hate medical stuff too. I hate it. Does it have to be a syringe? And I haven't unpackaged it all the way. It comes with a little nozzle, but essentially the damping fluid is preloaded. These are like $12 to $15. That's what I paid for this one. And it's got enough to do this for quite a while because all we'll need is 1 or 2 drops. We really don't need a lot. And all of the action is going to happen back here with this black piece. This is really good contrast to kind of show you what we're working on. How I'm going to get the camera back there, I'm not exactly sure yet. But essentially what we need to do is we need to remove this screw right here. And this sort of circular piece back here is a piston, or more accurately, a cylinder. And that's where we're going to need to apply the fluid. So let's take a closer look and see what we can do. And we'll also, like I said, try to do this on some other turntable as well. I'm sure I've got at least another one that needs this. You know, there's a surprising lack of information about this procedure online. I could not find a thing about doing this with an LP3. There was a bunch of people that had posted stuff about doing it with an LP120, which makes sense. And my LP120, I remember when I had that, the damping fluid, you know, ran out pretty quick as well. So it's a pretty common thing. And from what I can tell, how we go about doing this is a pretty standard procedure. And I did dig up another turntable for us to take a look at as well. You guys are going to laugh when you see it, what it is. Okay, I took off the dust cover just to kind of give us more room back there. I unplugged the unit as well. Did I unplug it? Let me tell you in a second here. Yes, I did unplug the unit. I couldn't remember if I did or not, or just thought about it. Then I'm also going to take off the whole head shell, not just put on a stylus guard, because watch what happens. When we do this, the counterbalance, because there's no weight on the end of the tone arm now, is not putting any pressure on that lift, which is exactly what we want, I think. I don't know. I've never done this before. So let's get a closer look. This is where all the rest of the action is going to happen. I'm not sure how I'm going to position the camera and do the work, but I'm going to get creative. Let's see what we come up with. Okay, so see that screw right there and kind of how it's over the top of the circular area? That is the damping piston. That's where that fluid is going to be. And with the arm now raised up and off of that lift, we can go ahead and remove that. So what I'm going to do is take a little Phillips and unthread that, and that whole black piece should come off. Okay, so no time like the present. Let's go ahead and try this. Okay, it's pretty loose, the screw, and it seems to be raising up pretty easy, which is good, I think. Not sure how high up that is going to come because the arm isn't going to go any higher. Okay, I think that's the top of the... How on earth? Okay, so it feels like it wants the tone arm not to be there. How can I... Okay. Like, I feel like if the tone arm wasn't there, this is, rocked and ready to come up and out of the way, but obviously with the tone arm, it doesn't want to do that. Maybe, okay, so maybe I should do that. If I push down on this, I'm gonna zoom in a little bit. If I push down, you can see the screw kind of stays up. So maybe that's what I need to do. Push down and then take the screw off. And then I feel like I'm doing something I shouldn't be, which is usually a bad sign. Oh, that's weird. Although this, it just does come off. Oh, okay. Well, there we go. I wasn't sure if I was able to do that or not. So there is the mechanism. Man, this shows up all the gunk. Interesting. So there's the mechanical damping. It's just a pivoting piece of plastic. And then that screw goes down into that receptacle there. And I think there is a spring in there. Look at that. There is a spring in there. So I'm guessing that what we need to do then is to drop some of that damping fluid right down into that shaft. All right, let me get the syringe ready for the operation, and we will glove up, put on our smocks, and get busy. So they have different like weights of damping fluid depending on the mass of your tone arm. This one is sort of a medium one, recommended for average tone arms. If you have a high mass tone arm versus a low mass tone arm, you may need to adjust accordingly. There are different weights of damping fluid you can order. Yeah, this is just some guy on Amazon. Oh, that's a cap, I think. Is that a cap? Shows you what I know about syringes, which I'm happy to be ignorant in. Yeah. Oh, that screws in. Okay, cool. When this arrived, you know, opening up a syringe wrapped in newspaper out of the mail felt wrong in so many ways, but it's the way it works. So I'm just like, okay. All right, let's zoom in here. I think this is the right thing to do, so we're going to find out together, but I'm guessing that we need to put it in there, and from what I've heard, a little dab will do ya. So I'm going to put in a couple of, how am I going to do this? Okay, should I like let it dribble in from the top, or? It's sticky and it's thick. So let's see here. Okay. There's sort of a drop. See how it's really thick. See that? So I guess we'll give it some time to sort of work its way down in there. Okay, so while gravity is doing its magic in the other room with that turntable, I wanted to show you this. A water bottle. Isn't that awesome? Check that out. Brand new merch, you guys. Check out the merch. The link is down below. High quality water bottle and very good screen printing. I'm very, very, very impressed. You know, Teespring didn't originally have the best quality, especially for shirt printing, but they really stepped up their game, which is really, really good because we were on the verge of finding a new vendor. But yeah, this design, Mrs. Record-ology had a hand in designing. Very cool. I love the little music notes around the outside edge. Very nice touch. Okay, so yes, this is that bottom of the line turntable record player from Five Below. It's also a great example of a poor damping mechanism. I mean, it's just janky all the way. Even lifting it up feels cheap. You know what I mean? It's like cheap. But it pretty much falls like a rock. It's got a little bit of damping in it, but even these type of mechanisms, it should be way better than that, okay? So there's, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit closer here so you can see what I'm talking about. So like that little plastic shelf is just loose. Now, there's no screw to get to that piston. I mean, it's going to be the same basic premise that we need to access it, but this cracks me up. Watch this. Oh, this one you don't need a screw because it just lifts right out. Oh man, I put my finger in that stuff. Yeah, so it's the same type of silicone goop, unless they figured out a way to use non-authentic silicone. So we're going to just down and dirty. How far does that go down? Okay, it goes down about that much. I'm going to squirt out some more damping fluid. The reason why you would want to be careful with, you know, how much you were putting in would be the risk of it not lowering. I mean, if there's too much fluid, you know, it may not function. So we don't want it to get completely stuck. All right. So that was with no time for it to, you know, drain in there. Let's see if that makes, it does. It's an instant improvement. Interesting. And I put a little bit more in this one than I did the other, so I wonder if I'm going to need more. But check out the improvement here. So that's really quick and easy on this type of a mechanism. Okay, so based on, you know, how much fluid it took to make the amount of improvement that we saw with the little portable, I went ahead and added a bit more here. So unfortunately, I can't say I put in 3 drops or whatever. It's hard to tell because once the applicator's inserted, you don't really know the amount. So I'm going to position this guy back. I am going to position the screw back in there. And also, I don't know, does this screw just like stop when it gets to a certain point, or does it need to go, is it like calibrated? You know what I mean? So let's see what happens here. I have this feeling that it's not a set amount. Like, can I go all the way down, or does that just screw it indefinitely? Is this like, maybe this is an adjustment screw, not like an installation screw. Oh, no, I got to the end. So that is, okay, so it is a fixed position, and that, you know, everything looks good so far, but, you know, has the damping improved? We can quickly find out by inserting our head shell back. And here we go. No, it didn't change at all. So apparently I need a lot more of that. More than what I was using, because that's no different whatsoever. Okay. Well, I'm going to go ahead and go back in there and add some more, and we'll see how that does. Okay, so it's been about 20, 30 minutes. I had to take it apart and put it back together 2 or 3 more times to add more fluid because I wasn't getting the results that I wanted with that initial application. So there's a few videos out there. I went back and watched a few, by the way, since the last clip, and rewatched a couple. And, you know, from what I could see, a lot of people get these applicators that don't have like the smaller syringe, the smaller piece at the tip. They just kind of have a large, you know, kind of like if you imagine that green piece gone, and it's just like the clear part, it comes out kind of in a larger opening. And then they just kind of dump it into that well, both inside and outside of that brass piece. And it seems to work, you know, hunky-dory for them. Also, I notice it's not like a couple drips and drops. It's you needed to put a significant amount, and the syringe is a little bit harder to, you would think this would be great for, you know, managing how much you're putting in there, but it was a little bit tricky because it's so thick. You're forcing this very thick liquid through a small needle, as it were. So it's really hard to get that. It takes a lot of pressure to get any out. And like I said, it's so thick and hard to manage. It's thicker than the hole that it needs to go into as well. So it kind of heaps over the edges. But like I said, a lot of videos show just kind of putting a good chocolate chip, that's the best analogy I can think of, chocolate chip size amount of fluid kind of on and around that shaft. After doing that a couple of times, this is the result. Much better. Isn't that amazing? Much, much, much better. So, and I've also heard that over time it'll continue to thicken up. And I wanted to be careful I wasn't putting too much in because I didn't want it to be totally, you know, where you flip it down and it's not lowering, because that could happen too, I would think. So I think we nailed it, but it's something we can adjust. It's easy enough to get into that, you know, spot. And I think we've got a winner now. So I'm excited for that. I would encourage you guys to proceed with a little bit of caution. This probably isn't a great thing for first timers, but I've read that a lot of people with LP120s, especially LP140s, you know, you get 2-3 years into one of these turntables, and this is something that needs to be done. I've also heard of people throwing away their turntables because of this. So, you know, with, you know, a little bit of research on YouTube, including this video, and others that were done better than mine, and this, you know, $10 to $15 investment, we've restored this to its original performance, which is super exciting for me. I'm glad for that. And yes, I am running the basic Audio-Technica 3600 on there. I literally took off the Grado Gold 2 and put on a $10 cartridge because, you know what? I like the sound of the 3600, and every once in a while I listen to it, and that's not a problem whatsoever. Again, LP3s are great. And if you want to snag one, I would recommend doing that. I'll put a link to the syringe, the product we used, as well as the turntable in case you want to grab one of these. It has just been so phenomenal. I always preach about how much I love this thing, and I continue to do so. But yeah, it's kind of like one step up from an LP60. There's another shot of the Champ right there. You know, you've got an LP60 and an LP120, which are polar opposites in terms of how they function. LP120s are fully manual, and LP60 is fully automatic. You combine them and you get the LP3. Replaceable head shell, counterbalance adjustment, still have the full automatic capability set. You don't have 3 speeds, you only have 2, but for most people that's not an issue. And it's a fantastic looking device in black or in white. And I added the acrylic white platter mat to match, and it really pops. It really pops, and it sounds fantastic. It also has a built-in preamp that supports moving magnet and moving coil cartridges. Although, as you can see on the left, I'm actually running a Pluto Gen 1 phono preamp external right now. I don't know why. It was just hooked up for something else, and I was like, I'll just go with this. So that's going to do it, you guys. I hope that was helpful. Again, links down below. Let me know about your experiences in this space. If anything major develops as this, silicone fluid, dries a bit and settles in, I'll let you know if it seizes up. It is supposed to thicken up a bit, but I'm very happy. If you remember what it was like before versus now, that's a good, gentle descend. So I'm very, very thankful for that. It's kind of weird doing the show in the dark like this, but the dang color temperature of those globes makes it really hard to avoid this terrible yellow glow on camera. To the naked eye, it looks fine. It looks like soft white light, but on camera, it looks like just, very yellow. So that's very annoying. I thought about getting like cooler color temperature bulbs, because we actually replaced some other bulbs in the house recently. It was that time where everything all over the place, all the bulbs start burning out. So I thought about maybe upgrading these to some daylight ones, but then I thought to myself, I'd have to work in that kind of light, and I do not like that to the naked eye. It looks good on camera, but cool, blue light does not, is not a pleasing, warm environment. And I have to spend so many hours in here. I just didn't want to do that. So we're going to do this kind of creepy campfire story mode right now. So anyway, thank you guys for being there as always. Don't forget to check us out on TikTok. Think about joining the Vinyl Nation for an extra show coming up here in just a couple of days for Nation members. Also, if you haven't done so already, I'm inviting you to jump into our new merchandise. We have the store through Teespring, and the link is down below in the description. It's also a little merchandise shelf under this video where you can scroll through it. We've got mugs, we've got shirts, we've got all kinds of cool stuff, all with new logos. So you're not going to want to miss all of that. Definitely check that out. But my friends, that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching, and happy record hunting. We will see you next time.